Karen goes to the apartment where Henry's girlfriend's name is Janice Rossi. And Karen goes to the apartment to confront Janice, and after being ignored, wakes Henry up with a gun in his face. So he just wake up to, and he gets it away from her, but like
smooth talks away from her, and then gives it,
and then threatens her, and says like, "Hey, you don't mess with
ever do this again."
Yeah, I come here as my home is supposed to be safe. Blah 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 blah.
She's crying and crying, and it is high tension.
Yes, very high tension. And you know what? Like they both kind of
they're both hotheads,
and they're both kind of complacent in it. Like
they really work kind of perfect.
Yes,
together
to be together.
Like,
yeah,
like.
Because Karen just goes along with it. Yeah, she doesn't want to give it up.
No, and she's fully helping him at points. And
Jimmy and Polly go to Janice's to confront Henry to straighten things out with Karen, who complained to Polly about it. Because he can't. She's over complaining to Jimmy's wife, and I can't. The two of them commiserating. I can't have it. I can't have it.
You gotta take care of it.
Yeah, gotta go home. He's like, I told her it'll be just like when you were first married, and blah blah blah. Yeah, so there's a lot of hefty promises coming Karen's way. Mm-hmm. Now, that's what the joke is. Karen will kill him, but she won't divorce him. Like So Polly sends Henry with Jimmy to Tampa to take care of some business. And then he's supposed to go back to Karen after this trip. That's how this is all set up. So the guy that they roughed up in Florida, though, had a sister in the FBI who does secretarial work. And Henry gets pinched because they were threatening to feed him to the lions. Well, they must really feed each other to the lions down there because she gave up her brother. She gave up everybody. He was sent to prison for 10 years, and that's when he gets in a cab. Karen walks him to the cab to go to like a car, or like whoever's taking him. Now take me to jail. Take me to jail.
He get it like a cigarette. Yeah, just take me to jail.
I think she took some pills. And,
it was some sort of drug.
Yeah. There's big dinners in prison. Not in with regular guys. They even get lobsters and booze.
This was one part I remember being confused at as a kid. Okay. Because I didn't catch that they were in prison. Okay. Like I was confused of where he was. Okay. Because it doesn't look like prison. It doesn't look like prison. It's just so this time I was like, oh, it's like a little apartment. Yes. Yeah, they are not in a jail cell. They're coming and going.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So they're not in with the regular guys. No one messes with them. They had everybody paid off in the prison. Looking the other way, Henry is getting drugs smuggled in too for him to sell. And Karen comes to visit and sees Janice Rossi also visited on the ledger. Janice or Karen, I'm in here. I can't control who comes to see me, but he's fully, playing both ends.
And Karen's smuggling stuff in for him in this giant trench coat.
Oh, she looked ridiculous.
And she just starts throwing it down the table.
Let her do it.
Let her do it. Let her sneak this stuff in for you. Go ahead.
And she's making this big scene, and it's such like a crowded area too. Like they're
full of people visiting. And then, like, the guards are
but the guards just, like, turns around.
Yeah, he's like, because they're paid off by Henry.
Yep. So, Karen has been cut off while Henry's been in prison. She's not getting any help from Polly.
Nobody talks to me. Nobody's helping me.
He's selling drugs to try to make money to keep the family afloat while he's in jail. Karen is afraid of Polly finding out, as she should be. Because if Polly finds out... this is big trouble.
This isn't Polly's business here. Yeah.
No. And they're just supposed to be kind of sucking it up and taking it to the chin right now.
Yeah.
Just
get through it and you'll be done.
And then we can go right back to how we were once he gets out. Henry gets out in 4 years, takes one look at the studio apartment that Karen has with the girls, and tells
like a bunk bed in the living room.
A Murphy bed, I think. Yeah. And he's like, Karen, pack up. We're moving. It was like the second he walks into the apartment. He has to go to Pittsburgh in the morning because they owe him $15,000. But she's like, you have to meet your parole officer, and he just tells her not to worry about it. And hey, who wants to go to Uncle Polly's?
Me.
Yeah. So Polly says now that he's out, no more drug dealing, because he said, he knows when you're inside, you have to do what you have to do.
Do what you gotta do.
But now he needs him on the straight and narrow. He needs him just, dealing his stuff. Polly doesn't get mixed up in that. So he's watching out, and he tells him to watch out for Jimmy because he's getting too wild. Jimmy's just, because Jimmy's involved with Henry in these side businesses.
That Polly doesn't know about.
Doesn't or care for when he does get wind of it. So he's using Janice's friend Sandy to mix drugs and continues to sneak around. This is the one who was into Henry at her little housewarming thing.
Yeah.
To sneak around and continues to sneak around to Pittsburgh with Jimmy and Tommy behind Polly's back. So not a good idea. It's getting a little tense
here.
And Henry's they're all using everybody's just getting more strung out and not sloppy.
Yes.
So they got a new house, and I put very gauche is the best word I could use to describe this.
It is, yes. It is.
It is gaudy as all get out.
Karen's just showing it off to everybody.
She's it's the most tacky thing you've ever seen in your life. But she's has Maury and his wife over, Belle, and she has her sit in the sofa, and she's just sit in it. The others you couldn't even sit in, So Jimmy plans the Lufthansa heist with a tip-off from Maury, who organizes this. And it's the biggest heist in American history. And I put with Stax Edwards helping out, who is another, there was all these guys in the club or who they're using for this big heist that they're trying to pull.
They each have a different job to do.
Stax Edwards is Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes. As we're watching it, my husband and I are watching it, and we're like, is that Samuel L. Jackson? It kind of looks like him. And then you're listening to the voice, okay, wait, he doesn't have that many lines. So, every time we talk, I'd be like, okay.
Very minor character, very, was this his first movie?
It might have been.
I think it was.
Young. But then immediately we're looking it up. It is!
Yeah, it is definitely him, because I remember Dad telling us that when we watched it the first time.
I didn't remember that, obviously, but...
So Maury set the whole thing up and keeps bugging Jimmy about it. He is up Jimmy's butt about this. And Jimmy's getting, obviously Jimmy is Jimmy, and add some drugs in the mix, and he's just a freaking ticking time bomb.
Yes.
His fuse is that long, it's very short.
Jimmy's a scary guy.
He kind of is, yeah. And Henry is still drug running with their old babysitter now. They're using Lois as her name, and she's using different babies that she's watching to smuggle drugs on planes. She's hiding them in their diaper or in the blanket swaddle, things like that. Sandy doesn't keep the apartment clean when she's cutting the drugs and mixing them and doing everything like that. So Henry keeps telling her, this is why I got you a dishwasher.
You gotta clean this place up.
She's I'm not doing my nails, all this. So she's very sloppy about it. Now, the Lufthansa heist goes off, and it is a complete success. Several $1 million were recovered, by these criminals. And
this is the 60s, 70s. This is a 70s, lot of money.
And so we cut to a Christmas party. No one's supposed to make any big purchases because they pulled off this heist. Everybody's supposed to lay low.
Lay low for a while.
Because the feds are hot on this right now. This is a
they're
huge
looking
deal.
for who is behind this.
So people are showing up with a pink Cadillac. Wives in new fur coats.
Yeah, they're all walking.
Yeah. And Jimmy's going off on this guy with his new Cadillac. He said it was a wedding gift. His mother-in-law
bought
mother's
name.
Yeah. Well, his mother-in-law bought it for them for the wedding, blah, 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 blah. And Jimmy's freaking out. Yeah. Super paranoid. Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
The Carbone walks in with his wife in her fur coat, and he's they just turn around
they just leave
no, get it out of here. Get it out of here.
Take it back. I don't care where you got it from. Get it out of here.
Make. Yeah. Okay.
And it's Christmas Eve. Or
yes.
They're walking to the Christmas party and they just leave.
Yeah.
And the wife is why can't we
He's nope, we gotta go. We gotta go. Come on.
He knew he did wrong.
He screwed up. So Maury is still bugging Jimmy for the $500,000 that he is owed for his cut, which he should have gotten.
He should have. Everybody else
did the legwork.
Everybody else got paid and he didn't.
Yes.
But it's also he keeps bugging Jimmy, and I get it, but it's also
Maury's not totally connected either. Maury's Jewish, so he's not he's not a made guy.
Yeah, he's not the Italian crew.
Yeah, he pays into this crew, but he's not he's not a soldier. You know, he's not, So they kind of feel like they can kind of toss him around, I think, a little bit. Okay. So Henry gets his cut and he goes nuts on Christmas. I said, like, he just turns around, like, after Jimmy said, like, remember, no big purchases, and then he comes back with a tree and I got the most expensive one they had. Like, everybody's just spending so just stupidly.
Going crazy.
Yeah. So they ended up with $6 million to split, which she said should have been plenty, to go between everybody.
Yes.
But Tommy whacked Stax Edwards as Stax didn't get rid of the getaway truck like he was supposed to. So cops start sniffing around.
Mm-hmm. His short-lived
stint in this movie. Tommy finds out from Polly that he's gonna be made. So that's very exciting for Jimmy because to Jimmy it's like he's going to be made.
Yeah, because Jimmy can't be made because he's not fully
he's Irish.
Yep.
Yes. And then Tommy is going to be made, but he's so connected to Jimmy. Jimmy's like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, it's like he's untouchable then.
Yep. So Jimmy has had it. He's very nervous and decides to whack Maury. And this is the point where, like, he's sitting at the bar and you can tell the exact moment he loses it. Yeah.
Like the slow shot of him.
And then you see an eyebrow raise. Like just for a second. Just like a little...
Like
the idea came in, yeah. Henry tries to talk him out of it, and later in the evening, Jimmy calls it off. Maury's able to reacclimate into the poker game. They're having fun. They're everybody's having a good time. So he calls it off. But Maury bugs him again.
He's always getting under his skin.
Yes, enough. So they piano wire him in the car. Yeah. Yep. And that's the end of Maury. So Maury's wife is worried that he's missing, and she goes to Henry and Karen's house.
I know something happened to him. I just know and he doesn't. We've been married how many years? And Henry says that tells her to go home. He's going to go out looking for her. He knows what happened. Jimmy starts messing with the feds, like they're at a diner, and he's like starts banging on the wake up. Yeah, because they're like asleep in the car. Yeah, he's ready to leave. He's like, let's go. Yep. For him to be followed.
The pink Cadillac was found under a bridge. This is our Layla montage. I love this scene so much. This is the scene.
So, if you know the song Layla.
At the end, not when you get past.
This is the very
instrumental.
The piano's going. It's so different than the rest of the song.
Yes, it is. It's like two completely different songs.
Yes, but...
Derek and the Dominoes, which was Eric Clapton's band. Yeah.
Oh, the scene.
Yes. So all the players are starting to wind up dead.
Yes. So all the ones who didn't know how to not spend.
Yeah. Yeah. We got the guy and his wife are in their pink Cadillac with the pink slip up on the window in blood. So that was a message. Like, hey, we know you did this.
Yes.
So there's other guys winding up. Frenchie in the garbage truck. Carbone is in the meat truck with he frozen solid. Hanging. It took him 2 days to thaw him out so they could do the autopsy.
Yes.
He was the one whose wife had the mink. And so bodies started winding up all over the place.
What was he in?
Wedding Singer.
Wedding Singer.
Yes, he was Robbie's brother-in-law.
Yes. I had to think about it.
He was in a bunch of things.
He was, but that's what I recognized.
Yeah, I knew.
You knew immediately.
I knew what she was asking. Yeah. So the Lufthansa heat starts calming down in a couple months.
And now they don't have to pay all these guys.
Right.
Because they off them.
Now Tommy is going to be made that morning. Jimmy is so happy because he and Henry could never be made. They're so excited. Tommy walks in to the room. They get to the house. They take him there. Jimmy's
Polly, right? Polly's there? I can't
think.
remember. Somebody greets him.
Yeah, somebody, but I don't. It's other guys. It's not Polly.
Okay.
I don't think. Jimmy is waiting to get a call.
They're like
as
at a
soon
diner,
as it's over. And he's supposed to call them as soon as it's done. So Tommy walks in, sees the room's empty, immediately knows.
He goes,
oh no! He gets whacked. He gets whacked. So immediately whacked. And
because he was a loose cannon.
It was revenge for Billy Bats.
Yes.
And there's nothing he could do about it, and that's that. There was nothing.
He was never going to be made.
Yep. It was a ruse to get him down there. So Polly knew about it. Polly must have okayed it because Polly's the one who told him about it.
Yep.
So Polly okayed it, but he wasn't there. Now I have to check on this. I believe the one guy over Tommy's shoulder Might be Uncle Junior from The Sopranos, but I need to look it up. Like, he didn't have a big role in this if it was him. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Don't get mad at me. Don't come at me if I'm wrong, because it was a very quick clip. Not 100%. So the next scene is Sunday, May 11th, 1980, 6:55 a.m. And this is a huge scene in this movie.
This is a big day.
Yeah, big day. It's just like hour by hour we're going.
Yes.
So Henry hears a helicopter and he's running around all day. We get to 8:05 a.m. He's still hearing the helicopter. He's in a near car accident because he's rushing around trying to unload these guns to Jimmy.
Running all these errands.
Yeah. He has to pick up his brother Michael, who has like a disability. He's in like a hospital. Yeah. And he's picking him up for Sunday dinner.
He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah. So they have to go, pick him up and get him to come over for Sunday dinner. Now, he's in a near car accident because he's looking up at the thing.
The helicopter.
He's high as a kite this whole time though.
Yeah,
so like his heart's beating like a jackrabbit. So the doctor examines him because he looks so rough when he comes up. And he's like, he's so strung out. And he's like, he took mercy on me. He gave me 10 milligrams of Valium and sent me home and for Sunday dinner. So he starts dinner early because he knows he's got all these things to do that day. He has to get a shipment ready for Pittsburgh with Lois on the plane and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, he's in charge of making the sausage for dinner.
He starts dinner early, sees helicopter is gone, so he and Karen leave. Michael stirs the sauce. He tells his brother, he's like, hey, stir the sauce, make sure it doesn't stick. He's like, I'm stirring it. Yeah. The helicopter returns and he hides guns at Karen's mother's house. 3:30 p.m. Like they go in a store to just lose.
Yeah, to waste some time so that the helicopter leaves.
So 3:30 they go and retrieve the guns and they unload them on the guy that he's getting the drugs from. And then he's getting Lois ready for the drug running trip. Tells Michael not to let the sauce stick. I'm stirring it.
We have our props here.
Our sauce, our gravy here.
Oh gosh, don't tell Henry.
Yes. She let it stick. So he tells Lois to call about the trip from an outside line. And she's, I know. I'm not stupid.
She's like, I do this all the time.
Yeah. And so what does she do? She hangs up the phone, immediately picks it back up and calls from the house.
So lazy.
So he's like, if anybody was listening, they would know the flight information, what was coming, what was going, all this stuff.
And there's been a helicopter overhead.
Yes.
They're listening.
Yes. So that was at 8:30 p.m. He winds up at Sandy's to mix the stuff before the flight.
The whole time I'm thinking, what time is dinner?
Yeah.
The family dinner. This is 8:30.
And this is where he ditches Sandy with the ha. Classic Ray Liotta laugh, leaving Sandy, as I said. 10:45 p.m. is dinner. They're all sitting down. Lois forgets her lucky hat at home and has Henry run her to go get it.
I never fly without it.
Yeah, never fly. A hat?
I'm not going. I won't go.
Yeah. So they're immediately arrested as they get in the car and start to try to back out of the driveway because there's just they're surrounded. There's cops all over the place. He said he knew they were cops and not wise guys from all the noise. Only cops talk that much. If I was a wise guy, I wouldn't have heard anything. I would have been dead. So Karen flushes the drugs.
She is immediately in panic mode. Out.
Yeah. Yes. The helicopter was the feds. They were on Henry for a month and he had no idea. So they come and immediately raid the house and everything like that. Henry needs to talk to Polly once he gets out of the holding cell, he gets out on bail for fear of because Polly is going to be scared to death that Henry's going to rat. And Henry's afraid that Polly thinks this about him, so he's going to get whacked before he can even get there. So they get Henry's mother-in-law to put up money to get him out on bail and everything like that. Henry finds out that Karen flushed $60,000 worth of dope down the toilet in 1980. So that's a lot. And then he explains that's all the money they had.
Yeah, he was like, I can sell this and we'll have cash now. We don't have to worry. And she's like, I flushed it.
Yeah. He's like, all of
what?
it? Yeah.
What do you And he was so mad.
Yeah, and he's like, they wouldn't have found it. It was like taped behind a bookcase. They definitely would have found it.
Yeah, I think they know to look behind the bookcase.
But he goes to Polly to make amends, and Polly gives Henry $3,200, and then says he has to turn his back on him.
Yeah.
So he said $3,200 for a lifetime is what he gets. So like Henry's at his lowest point here. He knows he's going away for a long, long time. He knows he no longer has his contacts. This was his family. They're completely cut off at this point. Henry tells Karen that they have to leave or be whacked. Karen thinks he's paranoid and goes to Jimmy without Henry knowing to ask for help. Karen is almost whacked by Jimmy at this point at a
Jimmy's
corner
like,
store.
"Oh,
I got some dresses.
I got some new dresses. Why don't you go around the corner? Yeah. It's right over there.
She's like, right here? And he's like, no, down the corner.
And he's like trying to get her to keep going.
Yeah,
and she's getting suspicious now, and she looks at the store and is like, I gotta go. I forgot. And she's like running off. She knew then all of a sudden that now Jimmy is turning on them as well.
Yes, exactly.
And the only rightfully so Jimmy had to save his.
Well, the only reason, and she doesn't get it, but Henry gets it, that the only reason Jimmy's keeping them close is because he wants to know what Henry's doing.
Right. Yeah. He's the in here to know if they're gonna get ratted on. Yeah.
So now Karen realizes the gravity of the situation, and Henry has always kept her kind of shielded before about this side of it. And he said, your killers come with smiles. They're not going to come like in the movies, like with these grim, like they're your friends. They, you know.
Look what they did to Tommy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You're going to be made by your best suit.
Henry meets Jimmy publicly at this diner. Jimmy feels Henry out about ratting everyone and him out. And Henry knows from Jimmy's request at the diner that there's a mark on his back. Because Jimmy asked him for the first time to go whack somebody. And he never asked Henry to do that before.
We're going to send you on this trip so you can go handle this.
He's like, I knew then there was a mark on my back. That was it. I wasn't going to come back from that trip.
Yeah.
So, Karen and Henry discuss witness protection with an officer. And if Karen doesn't go, they can only get to Henry. Like, she doesn't have to go. She doesn't want to go, but they can get to Henry through her and the kids. And the guy even says, don't give me that Babe in the Woods act, Karen. I know you know more than what you're letting on. I have recordings of you talking about drugs and, all this stuff.
They're both so demanding during this. Like, so privileged. Just
nowhere cold. Nowhere
cold. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good for us.
Yeah. Well, he's like, well, I can't really control. He's like, maybe if there's a legitimate reason, he's bronchial. Yeah. Well, maybe if he's legitimately bronchial, we can work something.
It's like they look so inconvenienced.
Yes, that they have to
putting in witness protection. It's like this is good. This is your only option.
Yes, at this point, yes. So Henry explains at this point that the only way you would know about him that he ever lived was through his birth certificate and his arrest sheets, proving that he was alive, because it was so easy for him to disappear. The house was in his mother-in-law's name. The cars are in Karen's name. He never voted, never paid taxes, and his social security cards and driver's licenses were fake. So it was easy for him to disappear. I said, I wonder if it was as easy for Karen to disappear, though.
Probably not. But, I mean, if he wasn't paying taxes, she wasn't either.
No,
so.
But, yeah. Okay. So the hardest thing for Henry was leaving the life, though. At this point, he's in prison, or he's in the courtroom pointing out Paulie and Jimmy.
Naming names.
Ratting.
Yeah.
Yep. He's ratting. That's what a rat does. A rat will do anything to save himself. Isn't that right, Mr. Hill? I don't know anything about any rats. At this point, he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Henry breaks the fourth wall. Yep. And to explain that it's all over. He gets to his new house. He's asked for, he's like, the first week I lived there, I asked for spaghetti and marinara. I got egg noodles and ketchup. He's like, I have to live the rest of my life like a schnook. That's a
great detail in the scene. The door closes and it sounds like a prison cell slamming shut, because this is basically being in jail.
His new jail. Yep.
Yeah, because this is
worse than jail, because jail he could do whatever he wanted to.
This is not the lifestyle that he is accustomed to.
So we cut to Tommy shooting Billy Bats, but it's like he's shooting the camera, but it's the Billy Bat scene. And back on Henry on the doorstep, who just kind of smiles. The door shuts, as Shelley said. And we cut to the words on the screen that at the time the movie came out in 1990, Henry was still in witness protection. And in 1987, he was arrested in Seattle, Washington for narcotics conspiracy and received 5 years probation. And he's been clean since 1987. In 1989, Henry and Karen separated after 25 years of marriage.
It made me sad when I read it. I was like,
after all that
you went through, this is You couldn't stick together.
I know. And Paulie died in Fort Worth Federal Prison at age 73 in 1988 of respiratory illness. Jimmy was serving 20 to life in New York. He's not eligible for parole until 2004 when he would be 78. And I don't think he made it that long.
No, he died in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
Such a good movie.
Such a good movie. Now I have many facts about this.
Yes, she sent me a note because I'm usually one that finds fun facts.
I didn't trust her to find fun facts. And she was like,
"I have these. These are mine. Just so you know, find different ones." I was like, "Okay, you can handle the facts."
I was afraid she'd show up and be like, "I didn't find any."
That would never.
I wanted to save you all this. Now, I'm sure this is a super long video. I apologize.
Yeah,
I'm trying to speed this up. This is my love letters. This movie is a love letter to the mafia. This is my love letter to this movie. So. This is supposed to be a mob home movie. That's how they, that was the intent of it. Now, the Copa shot, which, like you said, they weren't allowed to film the outside.
Yeah, and
they also mentioned that it is Henry seducing Karen, but also the lifestyle seducing Henry.
Yes. This is when he is
completely engulfed into the life. Yes.
And he's using it to his every advantage.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So both of them kind of are being sucked in at this point. This is the seduction. The songs on the soundtrack are chronologically appropriate to the time frame that the scene was in.
Aww.
Yeah, that was a big detail. Like, so any scene like from the 50s, those were songs from the 50s. Like, you wouldn't hear a song from the 70s in the 50s and vice versa. So
I like that.
I did too. I thought that was a good detail. Okay. Paul Sorvino almost dropped out due to the evil of the character. He didn't want to be.
He was like, I don't think I can play this kind of part. No, it's not for me.
And I thought that was adorable because I love him, and I love him as Paulie because he does seem like a teddy bear in this, but like you don't see that side, you know, of him, and you can see like even at the part when he cuts Henry off, he's got a tear in his eye.
There's compassion, yeah. You never see him be angry or anything. In this, like it's always somebody else.
It's somebody else. Yeah, the third party. Yeah. Yep. Paul Vario is the real Paul Cicero. Like, that's who he was playing. Like, that's who this was based off of. In the movie is Paul Cicero, and he's Paul Vario. Jimmy is Jimmy Conway in the movie. In real life, he was Jimmy Burke. The real Tommy was 6'2".
Yes, he was like this huge guy.
So that was one of the things that they went off.
Yeah, one of the differences.
Because Pesci, you know, was kind of, Pesci's notoriously short.
I did read that's one of the few things, like this is a 90 to 95% accurate movie to all the details.
Yeah. You said about Pesci ad-libbing the funny how scene.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No. I'm glad you did that because that was great. I didn't have all that detail that you did. So, Martin Scorsese's mother is Tommy's mom.
Yes.
She's the actress. Yeah. And she's just being herself too. I think that was ad-lib, that whole scene.
It totally was. So they didn't even tell her what was happening. Yes. Seeing that they were coming home with a body in the trunk. They just said they're coming home, it's late, you're gonna greet them and have dinner and we're just talking.
Yes.
So that's what they did, and that's how they ad-libbed the whole scene.
Perfect.
Including like, oh, we gotta hack off the paw, the hoof.
Yeah. Now Scorsese's dad is in this movie too. He is in the prison scene. He's the one who was putting too many onions in the sauce. And Nicholas Pileggi's mom is the one who painted the old man and the dogs. Yeah. Martin Scorsese's parents ironed all the costume collars on set to make them really crisp and
I know Martin Scorsese tied
Henry's tie
every time to make sure it was
correct. Yeah. Robert De Niro only used real cash as props. He felt that the fake bills, you wouldn't get a real bill for.
So the prop master took $5,000 of his own money and gave it to him, and then they each had to return it every day and count it. Well,
they would freeze. They would say, like, after the scene was done, it was like, everybody freeze. They would have to count it, and then everybody
he got his $5,000 back to use the next time.
So at least a dozen of the actors were connected in real life. That's how they got so much information. And Paulie Gutierrez, who played Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos. This was one of his first, like, he was, because he was in and out of prison his whole life, too. He was a real guy. Yeah. Okay. So Sandy tripping after she met Henry was real.
Okay.
She was backing up and kind of tripped. Yeah, like that was real, and they kept it because it looked like she was really infatuated with him. Oh. Yeah. Ray Liotta turned down being Two-Face in 1989 Batman for this movie, and I think that was a good move.
It was definitely a good move.
He stars in this movie. Like, this is I love Batman. That's the best Batman. I agree, but
this was a good trade-off for Batman.
Yes. Michael Imperioli got glass in his fingers while shooting that whack scene where he got whacked and all the glasses break and everything too. He had to go to the ER in real life because he got these glass stuck in his fingers. He had to get stitches. They thought he was dying. They didn't know all the blood was fake. They thought this kid got shot, and he was like, because it was after that scene. So like he walks in full costume. Yes. No, like in full costume with all this fake blood, and they were like looking for a gunshot. They were like, they didn't think he was telling the truth. Like,
hilarious.
Yes. And then U.S. Attorney Edward McDonald is the witness protection guy. He plays himself in this movie.
I think that's so cool.
The guy who is being with these absolute belligerent Henry and Karen who are just being so difficult. It's the real guy.
Yeah, he knows his stuff. He's really doing this.
Yes.
Well, and a detail they left out of the film that I read was that in that moment when they're going through the witness protection stuff, 2 of Henry's mistresses were waiting outside because he wanted to bring them into the program too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I did read that years ago.
So they were also there, part of this.
If I was Karen, I would have been livid.
It makes a little more sense now why they separated.
Yes, yes. Another thing, this movie, is like the diary, like of Henry Hill. My Blue Heaven, that Steve Martin and Rick Moranis movie.
A little more comedic.
It's comedic, but it's supposed to be about Henry Hill when he was in witness protection, because he got into some trouble, like we see in witness protection too. And Nora Ephron wrote that movie. She was married to Nicholas Pileggi at the time that he was writing the book Wise Guy that this movie is based on. Right. So all of his interviews with Henry Hill, she got to ask Henry Hill questions for her movie too. So they both kind of wrote with the real Henry Hill.
Yeah. So I know, like, Al Pacino was offered the part of Jimmy.
Yes.
And he turned it down because he didn't want to be like typecast as the gangster.
He leans into it later.
Yeah, and then he later said like he regretted it.
Yeah, I bet.
He shouldn't have done it.
I bet.
But then, so of course De Niro got the part of Jimmy, and he was so meticulous about getting the part right that he would call various people, including Henry Hill, 7-8 times a day to ask details like how would he hold his cigarette, how would he shake ketchup out of the bottle, like, and you can see it very like in that slow scene at the bar with
it's such a good job.
And the ketchup, he does it at the table. Like it's little details like that, but they're accurate.
It's perfect. That's what makes this movie perfect, though, because Martin Scorsese's so detailed and his actors are so detailed too.
It's so well done.
The other thing that I had, one of the only things that they didn't touch on of Henry Hill's crimes were he was involved with point shaving in Boston College and college basketball in the late 70s, and he didn't realize. He claims he didn't realize that was a crime. But like it didn't come out until he was going into witness protection and mentioned it, like that. So he
ratted himself.
He's just ratting everybody, including himself. But he didn't really get in trouble for that because he was already in witness protection. But they had a big point shaving thing going on for a long, long time for college basketball. And what was the only? I think that was
that's all my fun facts.
Now this movie, this movie has been with me at all my. I remember we got induced with my daughter, who's 2 now, and during that weekend, it was Memorial Day weekend, and Ray Liotta had just passed away. This was part of the movie marathon. I watched it in labor with my daughter. This is my movie. I love this film.
The big moments of your life.
Yes, we used to write when we were in theater. We would write our bios for the programs, and every single play I was in, I would end with a mafia quote all 4 years of high school. The one time was I think my senior year was Henry says, "Don't let the sauce stick. I'm stirring it." But I apologize for this being so long.
We have to quick do our
yes, I will. With our next Mafia movies, I'm attached to them, but not like this movie.
Yes, we'll straighten them out a little bit. This is a lengthy one. Thanks for sticking with us.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Okay, so squirrel rating. Mine was a bit higher as a child because I wasn't fully understanding.
And
but
you were young.
Yes, but I did enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it hooks you in.
Yeah, there were parts, but I was in and out. Mm-hmm. So I would probably like a 3 or 4 squirrel as a child, but none now. Like I was invested. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 0, 0, 0.
0, 0. Goose eggs. 0 then, 0 now. I was in love with Ray Liotta after I saw this movie.
I remember the young Henry in the beginning of the movie. I remember being
cute too. Yeah, he's cute too. Yeah.
So that sucked me in the beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to get a 14-year-old girl interested in a Mafia movie, you put a cute guy in there.
A nice clean cut. Yeah.
He shows up in the suit. How I look, Ma?
You look like a gangster. So many great one-liners in this movie. So I do apologize. Thank you for sticking with us. Please don't give up on us after this.
No, we'll straighten it up. We promise.
We'll go back to our regular formula after this. This is my very special episode. If you go down in our description below, it's links to our social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Sisters and Ebert. Please like, follow, subscribe. Please comment. Let us know. Do you love this movie? Probably not as much as me.
Nobody loves it as much as you.
But maybe as much as her. Let us know what you think. Please like, follow, subscribe, comment on YouTube too. Hit the bell notification. That way it'll let us know. It'll let you know whenever we put out new content. And we post weekly, and we thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah, come back for next Monday's movie.
Yep, we'll see you next Monday at the movies.